Hello, everybody. We got a surprise live here. I'm going to wait a little bit. We're making tamales today. I'm going to wait a little bit. I know there's no viewers in here yet, but let's wait for a couple of people because it takes a little bit of a time for YouTube to actually advise everybody or send an email out or a notification out that I'm live. And I'm going to give it about 2 or 3 minutes before we actually start explaining what we're doing today. Go ahead and give a shout out. If you, I have one person that just arrived. Give a shout out. Say hello to everybody. Today, we're gonna make tamales. And I'm gonna give a little bit of a history about tamales. And we're going to show you. It's quite a lot of work to make tamales. This is a tradition that's usually associated with Christmas. Good morning, Henry. How are you doing? This is a tradition that's normally associated with Christmas, and it's usually in the winter months that tamales. Tamales is the process of making tamales is an arduous process. Hey, John Kent, how are you doing this morning? It's very arduous process. We've been preparing the ingredients since yesterday, actually. Right now, you're going to get a look at us preparing the tamales after all the ingredients have been prepared. But we've been actually not even yesterday. It was 3 days ago, right? 3 days ago, we've been doing the sauce, the pork, the chicken, all of that stuff. We've been cooking for the last 3 days. So this is a very arduous process. Now, in the Mexican culture and Latin culture, not just in the Mexican culture, in most Latin cultures, tamales is a very common thing. I'm going to give you a little bit of history about tamales. Actually, the word tamale is not Spanish. Actually, the word tamales is an English word. We associate it with a Spanish word, but it's actually an English word. The correct Spanish term for tamale is a tamal, okay? They don't use the plural version. They'll say tamal. Hey, we're making tamal. Now, in Mexico, tamales has actually kind of caught on as a thing, but as a word. But the actual proper word is tamal. What we're doing today, we're making tamal, and what we're going to do is we're going to make the Mexican traditional tamal. But depending on where you go, even in Mexico, there's different kinds of tamal. Usually, the ones we're doing today are wrapped in corn husks. You will also find, for example, in Veracruz is very famous for their tamal wrapped in banana leaves. So sometimes you'll find the what they're wrapped in differently. Even though the tamal is used in the Caribbean, they have their own version of the tamal. Also a lot of Latin American countries have tamal, but that actually is believed to have originated in Mexico. It's from the indigenous people, from the Nahuatls. From Mayan. Nahuatl is Nahuatl Indians. And this tradition actually started with the Nahuatls. And it's actually become, there's over, while I was researching, there was over 500 different forms of tamale or tamal. They also have gotten very ingenious with the tamal. And actually, you can get all sorts of different, what do they call them? The exotic tamal. They even put Oreo cookies inside them. I mean, it can get really crazy. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the process. My beautiful wife and Rosa are actually putting together the tamales right now. And this process right now, what you're going to see is we already have all the ingredients prepared. So you're not going to see us preparing the ingredients, but I can tell you how each ingredient was prepared. We're going to have different fillings. We have different fillings that we're going to put inside the tamal. And then after we do that, we cook it in a special, it's a special pot that it's It's basically vapor cooking, and
3 hours.
it's about 3 hours of vapor cooking. I'm not going to get into the 3 hours. I'm not going to be online for 3 hours, but it's basically a large pot that you put it in. You put the tamal on top, and you have the water on the bottom, and the vapor comes up and it cooks the tamal, and you actually end up with the great, beautiful tamal. Now, many people are used to, because it is such an arduous labor, like I said, these tamales are going to have taken us 3 days or 4 days to make. Since it's such an arduous procedure, most people go out and just buy them at a restaurant or a catering service and that type of thing. But we have family coming for Christmas, and so we're making the tamal before they come. And usually these tamales are and then also we make extras. So we have them for the rest of the year. What will happen is you'll make enough tamal so that you can have it for the rest of the year, and that you don't have to worry about you put it in the freezer, and then you take them out whenever, like maybe you have you feel like you need a tamal in the summertime. You go grab a packet out of the freezer, you put them in that same pot, and you vaporize them again, and they stay well. Actually, they stay fresh because there's actually a lot, they call it manteca, which is basically the fat, okay, the animal fat. And the manteca keeps it from, so when you re-vaporize it again and reheat it, some people reheat it in the microwave, which is not the proper way to reheat it because it's never going to taste the same and it'll dry up. But if you re-vaporize it, it turns out just fine. So what I'm going to do, we've got 4 people here. Anybody just have a shout out, make some comments. You can even ask me anything. This isn't Ask Me Anything about Mexico, not just about tamales or tamal. We're going to... like I said, this is a surprise live stream. Ask me anything, so we'll figure it out. And let me put the front camera here, so that, as you can see, hold on. My beautiful wife's over there, and Rosa's up there. Say hello to the camera. And we're going to, and you probably have met Rosa before because that's on my birthday. She was here helping with the cooking. And these are all the ingredients. Right here is basically a mix of refried beans.
What's this?
This is el masa. Okay, that's the masa. I'm sorry, not the refried beans. Huh? Tamal? Nix tamal. And this is masa. This is what we call masa quebrada is another name for it. This is this is a mixture of corn masa. This is actually what they put in the tamal. That's when you see the tamal later on. Like here they are wrapped, getting ready to be cooked. But this is the actual masa. What you do is you have the corn husk here, and then basically you spread the masa over the corn husk, and there's a special way of folding it. Now look, Rosa's putting the ingredients in there. This is pork. Chili, a mix of pork and chili. That was slow cooked pork, and see how she folds it? This is slow cooked pork. This pork cooked all day yesterday.
12 hours.
It took 12 hours to make. The reason why we have to cook it 12 hours is because it's got to come out very, very tender. It's got to come out real tender. So these are the pork. We put different ingredients in it. We have different ones here. As you'll see, there's some chilies here. What we're going to do, this is one type of tamale too. A little later on, they're going to put the masa. They're going to put a piece of chili. And this is a mix of cream cheese that you put inside. Also, we're cooking the chicken right now, right?
Yeah.
We're preparing chicken too.
We're gonna have chicken, pork.
We're gonna have chicken, pork. The chicken is cooking right now, so you can see It's taken us 3 days, and actually even the sauce that this pork went into, that took almost 6 hours to create that sauce. And the beans, there's some beans right here. These are refried beans. Basically, we cook the beans fresh, and then there's a process of smashing the beans, and then you put them in a big pan with animal fat, and you also put them in with chorizo, which is a sausage type stuff, and a sauce. Those beans took us almost 4 or 5 hours to cook, or 6 hours to cook.
You want to say that
And
the leaf has a side. You can.
yeah, and the leaf. Here's the thing. The leaf, you have to put it on the right side, because if you put it on the wrong side, see this side is kind of shiny. You can't. I don't know if you can see it in the camera.
It's soft.
It's soft. Okay, so you got to put it on that side, because if not, that's how when you open up a tamal, it's really good. The corn husk peels off like nothing, but if you put it on the other side, the corn husk is going to stick. So Nerd Uno, I have a special masa spreaders for tamales, but they are not using it. No, this is done by hand. These are artisanal tamales. Yeah, and actually, my wife was saying she's seen them.
But I can't use them.
Do you make your own corn masa by grinding the corn, or do you use commercial mix? Actually, this mix of masa, we didn't grind the corn. Actually, that's another process that takes a long time. This is hand ground masa. This is homemade masa de rancho, actually courtesy of the rancho where Rosa lives. But they prepare the masa. There's individuals that sell the masa. They prepare it in bulk. And actually, those of you, they make it for themselves, for the whole community. So Rosa was gracious enough to bring us some. And actually, this is fresh corn, organic, hand ground, from the ranch, and it's fresh. It's actually was made yesterday. Believe it or not. Actually, I don't know if you watch my birthday live stream. My honorary tia Gloria made this masa. She actually made the masa, the one that was cooking here for my birthday, but they grow the corn actually at the ranch. This is hand grown organic corn from where Rosa comes from. So this is now what they do is there's certain people in the ranch. These little ranch communities, let me explain to you something about the ranch communities, and I think I've already explained it before. The ranch communities here in San Miguel, or even in Mexico, most places in Mexico, they live on land that's called ejido land. Okay, this is land that's given to them by the government of Mexico, and actually, I've been told that the regulations have changed. But the way it works is this land is given to a family, and they can only pass it down to family members. Now, there is a process now. They can't sell it. You can, as a person, like I can't buy ejido land. But they have started a process where individuals or families can sell the ejido land. But they live on the ejido land. They're also, I always talk about in my videos about how, when we talk about financial solvency, and I try to explain to people that, the reason why you have cheap electric bills and everything else, everything's subsidized by the government. For example, the corn that was grown to make this masa, those are made with seeds of corn that are given by the government to the community. So the water is also provided by the government. And that way, these people from these little towns can make their masa, they can take it to the market, They are also self-sustainable. For example, one family will grow beans, the other family will grow corn. Some have cattle. They even have a program where they give cattle. Some grow cattle, and they barter amongst themselves. For example, I'll give you a bag of corn, you give me a bag of beans. And pretty much these communities are very self-sustainable. And this actually comes from one of those little communities. This is one of the handmade masas that comes from the community. So that's how we make tamales. Now, as you can see, we don't only have this one over here, but we also have this over here. So we're gonna make several of these. Actually, we're gonna be making several of them so we can put them in the freezer. So, but that, we don't use a commercial mix. We use it from the ranch. That's an actual handmade mix from the ranch. And it is that the Monsanto special corn. Is it Monsanto?
Monsanto.
Is that la maíz es,
¿La semilla dónde la sacan?
¿dónde saca
maíz?
del
Sí.
maíz?
Pues de la siembra, cuando sembramos el maíz.
¿Pero dónde lo compran? ¿Se los dan?
No, pues sí, o sea, cada año tienes que guardar tu semilla para volver a sembrar.
O sea, del mismo maíz
que
sacas
sacas.
semilla.
Okay, so what they do,
Deja semilla, igual es
yes, the
semilla.
government does give them corn and seeds,
El gobierno les da
but
semilla, ¿verdad?
A veces.
she said sometimes, but they also save from the same corn crop. They save the seeds so that they can replant the corn from later on. I don't know where it comes from, nerd. To be honest. Monsanto makes that GMO plant seeds. This is not GMO stuff. This is actually, and believe it or not, the corn, the government does give them corn, but what she was explaining, Rosa was explaining right now, is that not all the time do they have the corn, does the government give them the corn. They actually save the corn and they replant cornfields from that actual corn from before. But if anybody knows anything about agriculture, you can't plant the same crop twice in a plot of land. Okay, the reason for that is that the plants take up nutrients, and you'll see this in U.S. farming too. It's not just here in Mexico, but when we're farming in the farming community, basically you'll know, because for example, corn takes up certain nutrients from the soil, and it also leaves different nutrients in the soil. So let's say I plant corn this year. Well, this year I plant corn, but next year I'm going to plant beans. You have to rotate the crops. So this is what they do. For example, one year they'll do corn, and the next year they'll do beans. Now these beans, those were purchased from the store that we cooked, but they were cooked. The raw beans, and we cooked the raw beans. And then if anybody knows, a la charra, basically, we cooked that style. And then you take the beans from the juice, and you take the juice out, and then you refry the beans. And this is the beans right here. I'm sorry, I had the masa. I was pointing to the masa, but here's the beans right here. So we make different kinds, and yeah, corn is very damaging to topsoil. I understand that this is why beans in the past were planted with the corn. Yeah, and also the crops are always rotated, nerd. Actually, I worked on a ranch when I was younger, so I have a lot of knowledge on you know how things are done in the farming community and with the cattle and stuff like that. And even, for example, when we were doing pastures, the breed of grass that we would grow a pasture so that we could get hay, we'd have to switch the breed of grass, because that you can't plant the same crop twice, even as much as grass. well, not really grass. It was different breed. For example, alfalfa. We would plant alfalfa one year, then we would plant a different breed of grass so that we could make hay. So that's a very common thing. It also takes a lot of nitrogen from the soil. So that's why you switch, and actually that's fertilizer is basically nitrogen, believe it or not. So that's what a lot of times when they fertilize the crops, they're putting nitrogen back into the soil so that the crop will grow. So here I am. We're 20 minutes in. We got about 10 more minutes. Anybody got any questions about tamal or Rosario Trevino? Hi, how you doing? Enjoying this. Gracias. Saludos de San Antonio. San Antonio. It's actually I have one of my sons lives in San Antonio actually, Rosario, and we actually lived in McAllen. I retired out of McAllen, Texas, so we're very familiar with the valley and San Antonio. Actually, we used to run up to San Antonio all the time whenever we got bored down in the valley. So, but any questions about anything about the tamal or how it's made? Do we have the vasija, baby? That we can show?
Right there.
Okay, here's the. Let me go over here. Excuse the mess.
From the ranch.
This is the vasija from the ranch. They brought the masa, and this is what we're going to put on the stove to steam them. Okay, so what you basically do.
Es como vapor.
How many dozen are you making? I don't know. I'll tell you what, Rosario, we're making as many dozen.
Like 200?
Probably about.
200 tamales.
We're probably making around 200 tamales, but it's until the masa runs out. Basically, that's what we're doing. It's going to be so this masa is going to make probably 200 tamales. Now, here's the other thing too that I'm going to make a distinction. For example, Rosario, you're from San Antonio. You might know about Delia's Tamales in McAllen, Texas. I think they may even have Delia's Tamales in San Antonio, but it started down in the valley. But different regions make their tamal different. For example, here we're doing it a little bit more northern style. When you look at the way my wife is spreading the masa, it's a lot thinner, okay? It's a lot thinner. And what you'll notice here, and also if you look at the masa, we mixed a couple of things into the masa. It's kind of a brownish color. That's what, Rosario, you're probably used to. But here in the central part of Mexico, you'll find the tamal is more of a white color. They use more, and also more masa.
It's bigger.
And it's bigger. But we're making them more northern style. And actually we're making them more, I guess, northern style, but it's also what most people know as tamal. Anybody that orders tamal or even in the States, this is more or less what you're going to get in the States. But you'll find that they're, like I said, they use different hojas and everything else. UT Panamera nerd, I think. Yeah, you know what? Yes, the one that's on West Chapin Road, the tortilla factories. Yeah, actually, Delia's Tamales, that's where they started, actually. In our family, the person who finds the baby Jesus King's cake makes the tamales the next year. Yes, yes, yes. And February, the February 2nd is the day of the Three Kings.
Día de la Candelaria.
Yeah.
Y el que saca el monito hacer los tamales.
Yes. Actually, Stephanie, that's very true. And I'll explain to everybody what Stephanie's talking about. Basically the tradition is here in Mexico, Christmas, yes, they celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. This is a very Catholic country. So yes, the Christmas Day is very important to the Mexican people, but the Mexican people don't consider Christmas or the birth of Jesus Christ a celebration. Because what do we do on Christmas? Actually, even most Mexican families don't open their gifts on Christmas. They open them on Christmas Eve. They celebrate on Christmas Eve, but they don't open their gifts. The Mexican people, or the Mexican tradition is that what happened, and if you know anything about, if you're religious, or I'm not religious or political on this channel, but if you're religious, I'm going to give you the history. If you're religious, what happened? Basically, everybody, the star came out, and angels appeared and told all the shepherds to go, that the baby Jesus had been born. They told the kings that the baby Jesus had been born. So there was 3 kings that brought gifts of myrrh, frankincense, and I forgot the 3 gifts that I'm sorry, I forget. I have a short memory, but they brought the gifts. So what do Mexicans do? They basically, their philosophy is, why are we giving gifts on Christmas Day when Jesus was born? We don't give gifts on Christmas Day because the gifts didn't arrive until the 3 kings came. So the 3 kings, when they arrived with gifts. And gifts, the gifts of the thing of giving gifts on Christmas came from the 3 kings bringing gifts to the baby Jesus. So here they celebrate Los Días de los Tres Reyes. And that's on February 2nd, right? No.
January 6th is Dia de los
January 6th is the Dia de los Reyes. And then, okay, so the Dia de los Tres Reyes, when they exchange gifts, is January 6th, but that's when they make what they call a rosca. A rosca is kind of a round cake. And on February 2nd, everybody grabs a piece of the cake, and they put the little baby Jesus, they hide the baby Jesus inside the cake. The little figure, a little bitty figure, and actually they hide it inside the rosca. It's called the special cake called the rosca. You can even buy them in the stores here in Mexico. And then on the February 2nd, whoever gets the baby Jesus is supposed to make the tamales the following year. And the other thing, this cake is very similar to the Mardi Gras. It's kind of similar to the Mardi Gras tradition in the United States, or actually Mardi Gras is not U.S. tradition, but in New Orleans, we say it's a U.S. tradition. But in Mardi Gras, they have the special cake, and then you eat it, and whoever gets the baby ends up having to throw the party the next year. So it's the same concept, but that's what we do here. So, but it's the Dia de los Tres Reyes. So Christmas is celebrated here. It's celebrated as the day Jesus was born, but it's not celebrated as let's give gifts. The gifts aren't given until the following.
That's more in the north.
That's more in the north. Now in the north, they do celebrate a little bit more. Gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Yes, gold. I left out gold. So they are a Christmas tree. Texas refugee. Let's see here. It seems that consensus is changing about lard, animal fat. Seems consuming processed seed oils is worse. Same in, well, we're using butter and margarine. We're using gold, frankincense, and myrrh, yes. We're using actual lard, to be honest with you. That's the traditional way of making them, and that's what we're using. So let me see if I can scroll up and down this. No, I can't scroll up and down. I have to be a little bit more, if I missed your comment, I'm sorry. Are you making a batch of sweet ones? No, we're not. Actually, we were thinking about it. Actually, we were talking to my mother-in-law about making a batch of sweet ones. And we were figuring, you know what? We're going to stick to the traditional pork, beans, and chicken.
Cheese.
Mm-hmm. And then also, this is Actually, this is an invention. This you won't find in Delia's Tamales. You won't find anywhere. Is a chili. It's a basically you put this rabana. They call it rabana. This
Rajas.
leaf raja, which is a leaf of chili, which has been prepared. It's been peeled and everything, and it's also been cooked. Okay, and then you cook the chili. It's a chili poblano, and you cook the chili over a fire. We use the gas stove. You cook it usually over a fire. You roast the chili, then you put it in water, and then you peel it, take out all the seeds, and then in this case, because of the tamal, we cut it into pieces. Because usually this is also a way of making chili relleno, where you stuff the chili, and what you do is you take this chili, you put it on top of the tamal, on top of the masa, and then you take the cheese, the cream cheese, and you put the cream cheese. That was actually an invention of a friend of ours, and we love it. So, but we're not making any sweet ones this time.
Aquí en el centro hay unos de guayaba muy buenos.
And there are some that with guayaba that are supposed to be really good, but we just didn't have the time to. And actually, Laura, they're not rajas hatch chili. I wish, because I'm from New Mexico, and we actually were going to Santa Fe now during New Year's, and we're gonna bring back our fix of green chili, but this is actually chili poblano. It looks like Rajas de Hatch chili. It does look like Rajas de no Rajas. Rajas is a scratch. I'm sorry, Rajas. Rajas de Hatch chili. That looks like Hatch chili, but it's actually chili poblano. It's not hot. It's not like Hatch chili. Now let me show you what this is just one. This is one that they've already made right here. And these will be steamed. They'll be placed in that big thing with water on the bottom. And then there's like a little, there's these special things to make some, special pots to make tamales. But basically, the water will go on the bottom, which will create steam when it's boiling. And then you there's like a little thing with holes that you put in the middle that kind of doesn't go all the way down. And then you put the tamales on the top, so it steams the tamales. And then that's how when you want to reheat them, we have a smaller one. That's a big pot to make a bunch of tamales, to cook them all at the same time. But we have a smaller pot that we can put a dozen tamales, and you just put the frozen tamales there, because here's the great thing about being frozen. What happens when they get frozen? They take moisture, right? And then you get the moisture. So the moisture from it being frozen helps to steam the tamale. So the tamal, and actually I'm saying tamale, but it's tamal. And that's how we reheat the tamal, so that it'll actually taste exactly like the day you made it. So the tamal always stays fresh. So. Rajas de Hatch, and like I said, I wish it was Rajas de Hatch chili. Actually, Laura, if we bring back some Hatch chili and freeze it, we might even try that next year. Because you can only get that stuff in New Mexico. Well, actually, you can get it in Texas now. Believe it or not, you can get it in Texas at HEB. During chili season, they're outside in Texas roasting the Hatch chili. But at one time, you could only get it in New Mexico. Actually, Hatch, the reason why they call it Hatch chili, for those of you, it's not a Mexican thing. It's a New Mexican thing back in the United States. But Hatch is a little town where that chili comes from. But they grow the chili. It's Hatch, New Mexico. So they call it Hatch green chili. It's very famous for their chili.
No.
Or Hatch red. They grow red chili too.
Bueno, yo
So.
en el rancho nunca he visto que la hagan. Por eso digo que no.
So, we're at the 34-minute mark. Like I said, always keep this to 30 minutes. So anybody else have any last-minute questions before I end my live stream? I hope you guys enjoyed watching the process of making tamal. And I always like to bring things from the Mexican culture, kind of give people a history. We enjoyed Hatch chili in Dallas, Fort Worth too. Yeah, actually, it's made it to Texas. I've noticed that. John. Yes, very popular at HEB. Grow well here. Yeah, it's very popular at HEB. Actually, HEB, what they'll do, what happens when you get real hatch chili, and I used to do this in New Mexico, the whole family gets together and you basically roast it on the grill, just like if you're doing a barbecue, and then you put it in water and you peel the skin off and then you get it ready. But now they have these big machines that blow are blow torches, and then they just roll the chili in there, and then you get your chili already cooked or roasted. Thank you for this with the Feliz Navidad, John. It's great to see you, Stephanie. I'll be there in 11 days. Can't wait. You're making me hungry. Well, Stephanie, you're going to really enjoy it. Actually, we're kind of leaving. Actually, we're going to be here this week and next week, and we have to head back. We're going to go back to Monterrey and then back to New Mexico. And then we're going to stay in Monterrey because we got to go do a couple of things at our house in Monterrey, which I will be doing lives and stuff, these surprise live. We're going to have to do some stuff in Monterrey. I have to take care of all my medical stuff. Then we're going to take a quick trip to Merida. So, and I've got a little one that wants to go to the restroom. Look at this. Our little girl is waiting at the door and she's complaining because I'm on the phone doing a live stream. So, yes, frozen hatch chili is a great idea. If you drive down from Santa Fe on 25, you'll see Hatch, the new city sign. Wishing yours and the wonderful holiday. Yes, Laura, thank you very much. You guys, thank you for joining me. Like I said, I like to keep this to 30 minutes. So those of you who couldn't join me can enjoy this and they're not watching an hour live stream. Any other questions before I go? Because I'm just getting ready to go. Okay, well, I guess they're gonna put me to work now. I got a break. I got the break from having to spread doing the tamales, but I'm gonna have to help here. So I guess I got a break because I'm operating the camera. So, hey you guys, thank you very much for joining me on my surprise live stream. We'll see you on Sunday at noon for my normal live stream. I'm preparing another video. Don't forget to watch my video on real estate. I had my real estate agent. I know a lot of you guys were asking about my real estate agent and his contact. He even has a free guide that'll send you if you about buying real estate in Mexico. If you just email him, I have the links in the video description. And until next time, stay safe and stay informed. We'll see you later. Say bye, Rosa. Adios. All right, we'll see you later.
Ahora